What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of MLB Picks and Props Around the Diamond presented by FTN Bets right here on GamePlus Network. If you're watching live on our FTN Network YouTube page, we appreciate you. If you can smash the like button, that would do us a solid. If you have any comments, any questions, you can leave them there, and we will address them throughout the show. It could be an MLB pick. It could be a season-long fantasy baseball question, whatever you have. We'll be here to help you out. Myself, Chris Meaney, MLBDream, and real Frank Brank in the house with you guys on this Monday afternoon. MLBDream, what's going on, sir? Man, you're always rocking an awesome tee. Can I just say that? You always have an amazing baseball tee. RotoWear, right?
I think this one might be homage, but yeah, the large majority are RotoWear, and I'm glad somebody likes all my hundreds of baseball t-shirts.
Well, Frank's rocking the hat. I mean, I like your hat, Drew, but Frank's rocking the hat. Let's be honest, FTN hat. You guys want a hat? Let us know. We can give away some swag on this show. We can give away some MLB betting packages as well. You have access to all the picks, not just from us, from everybody giving them over at FTN. NFL around the corner. Actually, it is here, preseason, for those who like to maybe a little small wager on preseason football. It's not for me, but I know some people like it. But our betting package, you get all the picks from everybody, Discord channel, projections, tools, all that good stuff. Let's actually lead with Dream. We've been leading with Frank. Let's lead with Dream today on this Monday. What do you got for us? We've got a handful of games around the dial, a couple early ones, 6:40 Eastern, but we do have a little bit of a better slate, I think, compared to the past couple Mondays. Dream, kick us off.
Yeah, definitely full slate today, and I like a lot of things on the board today. I went ahead. My first bet was the Orioles team total at 3.5 minus 135 against the Blue Jays. I don't really understand why this opened at 3.5 against Kikuchi, who's been struggling to say the least this season. When you look at the general team total rankings this season, the Cardinals are the only team that if you blindly bet them, they have a positive ROI on team totals, but the Orioles are right behind them. They've been averaging over 4.5 runs over the last 10 games with a 773 OPS. So they're getting it done at the plate. They're a lot better than they were, to start the season. And I think Adley Rutschman has a lot to do with that, hitting, near the top of the lineup. Kikuchi has an ERA of 9 in 2 starts versus the Orioles this season, and that's not a huge sample, but he's faced 42 batters. They're hitting 314 off of him with a 429 on base percentage, slugging 800, and a 505 WOBA. That works out to a FIP of nearly 11. I mean, they're just absolutely, like most teams, they're seeing him very well, and they're barreling him up. In his most recent start, his last start against the Orioles, they had a barrel rate of 20%, and earlier this season, it was a 33% barrel rate. So I kind of expect more of the same today. When you go to Kikuchi's Savant page, it's obviously covered in blue. He's in the 5th percentile or worse in hard hit percentage, expected ERA, expected slugging percentage, and walk percentage. And the Blue Jays also have the 5th worst FIP in terms of their bullpen. And since July 1st, it's the 7th worst FIP. So I like the Orioles to knock around Kikuchi. I mean, I would also like this. I didn't check the first 5 team total, but I assume it's 1.5. I would probably play that as well. I think the Orioles should be able to get a few off Kikuchi and then a few more off the Blue Jays bullpen.
Yeah, what do you think about them on the money line? Plus 135 here. I don't feel like the Jays should be minus 155 favorites at home or not with Kikuchi. I mean, we picked on Kikuchi at length in the last episode, and it really worked out for us. And now, again, in the same spot, like you said, Dream, against the O's, who just rocked him around 5 innings in the last start, 5 runs, 3 bombs, 3 walks, 6 hits. The guy's completed 6 innings in 3 of his 19 starts. Like everything we said last week, they're on the tape, and you can say it again this week. Are you interested on their money line?
I did bet the Orioles money line as well. I think at plus 140, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really understand the money line either. I thought it'd be maybe around Blue Jays, maybe 135, somewhere in that range. I do know Bradish does struggle against righties, and that is, the Blue Jays are going to throw out a bunch of righties against them. So I think that's kind of where that line is coming from. But he's also a guy that's been better since he got recalled, and he does show positive progression in his advanced metrics. So, I mean, at plus 140, yeah, I went ahead and fired on that as well. I'm just a little bit more confident in the team total today.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So for me, I am with you. I think we'll see some runs from Baltimore's side and Toronto's side of things. So I'm taking the over in this game at 9. at plus 100. You mentioned Bradish. I mean, I think he's been a little bit unlucky. He's got the 6.42 ERA CR and the xFIP a little bit better than that, but 13 bombs allowed and 13 starts. He's walking 3.36 batters per 9. He's had 2 outings against the Blue Jays this season, 9 2/3, 14 hits, 8 earned runs, a homer. He got rocked in his 1 outing at the Rogers Center. You mentioned he has been better since the recent call-up. Things didn't go well for him in that start in Toronto. 5 runs over 9 hits, only lasted 4 1/3. But you mentioned the right-handed hitters, and that's the key to me. Like, we all think that Kikuchi could get rocked here in this spot. But right-handed hitters, they have 10 of the 13 home runs against Bradish. They're slashing 356, 412, 604 with a 435 WOBA. The Jays have the second best team WOBA against righties this year, just behind the Dodgers at 332. They got a 114 WRC plus, which is number 3 in the bigs against right-handed pitching. Bobichette, Vlad Guerrero, Chapman's on a little bit of a heater. He's had a nice, 6 weeks. So these are guys that could take them. Even Kirk is a guy, who's been hitting in the top 3, top 4 in that lineup as well. So I like the Jays to get to him. I think Baltimore has the way against Kikuchi, as I mentioned. I don't think there's anything else for me to say. I mean, maybe Frank has some more Kikuchi numbers, but he's allowed 18 homers and 19 starts. He's walking a ton of guys, 5 per, and he's not going deep into ball games. This guy's getting crushed, man.
And it's kind of amazing the Blue Jays are still where they're at in the standings without getting anything from Kikuchi and Barrios this season.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Yeah, and they keep winning a lot of these games, or they're in a lot of these games. They hit their way out of these terrible starts. They have probably 2 of the most disappointing starters in Major League Baseball this year coming into the season. Not that Kikuchi, in my opinion, has ever been very good, but they find a way somewhat, like the Blue Jays have, of sort of turning around some pitchers and getting quality outings out of them. They did with Stripling a little bit, and then they bring in a guy like Kikuchi who, I mean, he has the stuff, right? He strikes out 25% plus, which isn't an elite number, but it's pretty good. But you mentioned it. You can't walk 13% of hitters and then give up 2 home runs for 9 innings and expect anything good to come out of that. Both these guys struggling against righties. Both these teams have a lot of them. I like your guys' side if you made me play one. That Rogers Center plays pretty short once we get into August, this time of the year, with the pitchers slowing down a little bit and the hitters kind of catching their stride. So, this looks like danger zone for a couple of guys that look closer to 6 ERA pitchers than they do 5 ERA pitchers.
Yeah, Daily handle the house is Kikuchi. Kikuchi's brutal. Send him down to the minors. Can't handle the big stage. I mean, I don't know if he gets sent down, but man, if this is a team, Frank, that makes the postseason, I can't imagine we'll see much of Kikuchi at all. Yeah. I mean, it'll be a short leash.
No, I'm not sure how the international contracts are structured either. He may not have options in that contract. So just to give you guys an idea, minor league players have options where they can only be pulled up and sent down so many times. Once those options run out, you have to then put them on a waiver wire. So that might actually be baked into Kikuchi's contract. I'm not 100% sure if they have the ability to send him down. That's not a rehab start. So
I mean, they kind of tried that with a phantom injured IL stint. They said his neck was bothering him, and then 2 days later, we see a bunch of reports coming about him having 2 new grips and trying this. It's like, all right, I thought your neck was bothering you, but
So I'm gonna guess that they don't have options. Their only thing would be another fake injury where he would get a start or 2 in the minors, but you can't leave him down there for a month or 2 months with no injury, right? And that creates an issue for them. But when or if the postseason comes around, Kikuchi and Barrios are you're gonna have to like whether you want those guys out there or not when your season's on the line. I mean, there's definitely an offense that can win the World Series, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, it is an offense that could win the World Series for sure. That's why I would have liked to see them be a little bit more aggressive at the deadline for a starter. I'm sure they tried, but they definitely needed one. I wrote the Diamond Data article, which is free over at ftndaily.com. I wrote it on Friday for Jose Barrios. It's like just looking at his numbers even deeper, holy crap, they're just so bad. Like the highest barrel percentage in the bigs, and Cleveland, a team that makes a lot of contact. They don't have a lot of power. They rocked him again. Like, they've had 2 outings against him this season, and they just crushed him in both outings. If this guy is struggling against a team like Cleveland, I know they make contact. They don't strike out a ton, but they don't really have a tremendous amount of power in their lineup, and they just made him look like a below average pitcher. All right, so we're on Baltimore team total 3.5 from Dream. It's got to lean to the O's on the money line. I'm kind of with you there on that with those odds. You can still get using our prop shop parlay calculator plus 135 or at DraftKings. FanDuel's 134, BetMGM is plus 125. So just give you a little bit of a feel of what the prop shop and parlay calculator has to offer. You get those best possible odds. I like the over 9 with both of those pitchers on the hill, and then we will throw over to Frank for his first pick. What you got? Ricky Bobby in the house. Let's cash.
Nice. Let's go Twins for the first one here. Big number here, minus 185. Joe Ryan mounting against Chris Bubich, who we talked about last week a little bit. Very much like a 5 to 6 ERA pitcher again. I think I have him projected in the low 5s. Royals team that we talked about. I think they've, should be giving up by now. They made their trades and got on with it. And I've been high on this Twins team, right? Like they've added the bullpen pieces they needed. They added a starter they needed. They have a lineup that it's like probably top 5 in baseball right now, in my opinion. The wins haven't come around for them, and now that Cleveland's gotten a little bit hot, they've gone 7-3, I think, in the last 10, and the Twins have gone 4-6. They're 2.5 games back, but I don't think any of us and the general baseball fan outside of Cleveland would say that Cleveland is the better team than the Twins. I think the Twins are the better team. They certainly have the better lineup and comparable bullpen, comparable starting rotation. So I do like the Twins here in this spot against the Royals, who, like I said, pretty lowly. We haven't seen many like sub 200 prices in Royals games recently, and I'm a little surprised this isn't in like the 215, 220 range. Joe Ryan projected to be about a 380 pitcher going forward for me. I think he can even be better than that, in the very near future. He's had some injury, short stint on the injured list, has come back and has been pretty solid. So kind of a short number for a team that has struggled a little bit. But I think we're going to get them on an upswing here very soon as they make a run towards the division. Minus 185 is a steep price to pay, but I think these Royals games going forward are all going to be in about the 200 range, and I think this one's a little bit short.
Yeah, I agree. Right? Yeah, like you said, they made all the trades that they were going to make. I mean, you got Bobby Witt, who's got he's had just moments. Of course, as a rookie, we see the upside from him, but there hasn't been much consistency there. Sal Perez. Other than that, I mean, that lineup is just. Looking at it right now, the potential lineup, it's got a lot of holes, to say the least. I love the call. Twins. I was trying to figure out which team I would put in, like if I was parlaying, like a just like 2-team parlay, because I was looking at Minnesota. I don't think it's Baltimore. Like it may be like, even though it's Syndergaard, it may be the Phillies for me. Like I'd put the Phillies in there potentially. It's like
even though it's Syndergaard, it's also Mike Minor.
Exactly. Philly's been hitting lefties so well this season. So that's probably the way I would go. But I love the Twins call there. They burned me over the weekend, as you guys know. I was picking on the Halos, and listen to this. I had the under 8 and Minnesota money line. It was 3-1. In the bottom of the ninth, 2 strikes, I think, like, forget who was up, Sierra or something. He was like 0 for 54 to start his career, something silly. 2 strikes. Guy hits a triple to tie the game up. There was 2 outs, 2 strikes. Minnesota ends up losing the game in extras. I lose the total. It was 1 strike away. I got burned, but I have no problem going back to this team, Frank. I am completely with you when we talked about them after the trade deadline, the addition of Molly, the long odds, right? Like sprinkle a little 0.25 units on something for them maybe to win the World Series. Like I really do like their squad. I like their staff and rotation.
I've said that a lot, and they've given me a lot of heartburn over the last 3 years, as Dream knows very well. But I do think that they could surprise somebody in the playoffs for sure.
I think so as well. Just stay healthy, right? Some of their guys in that lineup, just including Buxton, needs to stay healthy. Dream, we'll go back over to you. Second pick. What you got?
Yeah, I have Julio Urias here at over 5.5 strikeouts and minus 148. It's moved at 6.5 at some spots, so be sure you're line shopping here. Check out the FTN prop tool. The Brewers have the 3rd highest K rate this season versus left-handed pitching, and since July 1st, it's at 28.5%, which is the 2nd highest in baseball. Urias features his curveball a decent amount and has a strikeout percentage of 26%. The Brewers have the 9th most strikeouts this season versus curves. And overall, the Milwaukee averages the 8th most strikeouts in baseball. Urias ranks top 25 in both swinging strike percentage and called strike percentage. His chase rate is in the 86th percentile. And since July 1st, he's striking out about 26% of hitters. So I do like him to get 6 here. I don't love the 6.5. If that's all you can get, obviously at plus money, I would probably play that for maybe half a unit, but I definitely wouldn't risk the full there.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, this is some of the perks, guys, of having the FTN betting package. Of course, we're not coming at you super early in the morning. Things are changing all the time. But if you have the package, you see when we make the bet, we're active in the Discord channel. You follow FTN alerts on Twitter. You get notified right away when you make that bet. Yeah, Dream, I'm seeing a lot of 6.5s everywhere, really. Unibet plus 107, DK 6.5 plus 100. FanDuel 6.5 minus 106, but MGM minus 115, and Caesars minus 118 at 6.5. So that line may be gone, but if you're subbed with us, you got in early, just like Dream did as well. There's something to be said about having that package.
You could maybe even parlay Urias over 5.5, and then maybe Frank's Twins piece there, or over 5 strikeouts, at least 5 Ks, and Twins money line could be an option. Nice. Yeah, I don't. It definitely moved 6.5 pretty much everywhere. I don't love it as much. Definitely not at minus 115 or minus 120. I'd still maybe play it small at plus 107 though.
Yeah, what do you think, Frank?
Yeah, Urias. We talked about him a little bit in the pre-show, right? Like somehow underrated, and somehow all these Dodgers starters are underrated. Maybe it's like a West Coast thing. I don't know, but I don't hear much about the Dodgers because we expect them to be so good, obviously. But Tyler Anderson, Gonsolin, Urias, like all these guys that have come over, they've had a lot of injuries. They've had a lot of issues. Dustin May is still sort of rehabbing and ramping up, right? Like, does he fit in somewhere? Bueller's been hurt, and they're still doing this. These are numbers that if you took the names out and put Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Dustin May in there, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They just keep turning out these guys. I'd have to look at I can check my number on Urias real quick. I know I had almost no K props this morning.
You have them at 6.28.
6.3, yeah. So I'd like the original bet for sure. But now that it's 6.5, I guess that's about a moot point at this point, which is why it's important to get in there early and get Dreams bet as soon as they come out, because the market, especially in K props, has been developing in the morning, and that's kind of nice to have. That's sort of a new development in recent months, or even recent weeks, where you can get maybe 4, 5, 6 different books on a certain K prop, and you can really shop around on those things. I've seen anything from like minus 120s to plus 120s in a given line, depending on where you're at. That's a 7% difference, 8% difference in expected value there.
Prop Shop's your friend. FTN Alerts on Twitter, your friend as well. And just join us, guys. You don't have to sign up for the year. You can sign up for a month. You can see exactly what we have to offer. And, like I said, you get the NFL picks and then NBA, NHL, just really around the corner. Guys are crushing it. PGA, I feel like, between Bickle and Jones and DeCourte, these guys are hitting like an outright every other week. So, I do believe it is certainly worth it. And I like what you said, Dream. Put the 5 in there with the Twins, and away you go. So I have a strikeout prop here. It's a guy that really doesn't strike out a lot of batters. It's Marcus Strowman at over 4.5. Former Bluebird. What is up, Anthem Sports and Entertainment? You guys are very familiar with Marcus Strowman. But I actually don't mind this. 4.5 minus 120. It's not like paying a lot of juice here. Again, Prop Shop, you get the best possible odds. This is a start here against Washington, so it's a watered down lineup, right? I mean, if you look overall at Washington, this is a team that actually doesn't strike out all that much. I mean, 18% near the bottom 5, but in the middle of the pack over the last month. Of course, Soto no longer on the squad. That's a big key into that lineup that you're just really taking out. And over the last 30 days, they're in the bottom 5 in WOBA and WRC plus. But for Strowman, he's actually entering with a career best 8.39 K per 9. His 3.31 xFIP is best mark since his rookie season. We know he's a big ground ball pitcher, 56% for his career. It's actually sub 50 this year, but for the most part, he's always kept the ball on the ground. His last start actually came against Washington. He got roughed up in that outing. He gave up 4 runs, 2 homers, and 2 walks, but he still managed to strike out 6 batters. That was over 5 innings. He's got 6 strikeouts in back-to-back starts, one against St. Louis in there as well, and 5+ Ks in 5 of his last 7. So 5 is not a lot to ask for. I know he's not a big K guy. but I do believe he can get to 5 against this Washington squad.
He is showing his highest strikeout mark of the year or of his career. Sorry.
Yeah.
23%. He's been under 20 for most of his career. So
sub 20.
it seems like he's maybe pitching up in the zone more, which we've seen some home runs, but we're also seeing the Ks.
And I was speaking with a friend over the weekend. Sorry, Chris. You could pretty much throw out all this national stats from before Soto and Bell got dealt.
Absolutely.
I mean, literally, I want to say
100%.
I don't know if it was since August 1st or the last 30 days, but they've been striking out almost 30% versus lefties. Overall versus righties are striking out at over 20%, and that's a pretty big increase from what we saw them do over the regular season. So, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't pay attention to season-long stats of the Nationals here. I'd like the Strowman side as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I agree. Cross it all off, man. Just look at the recent performance from Washington. Okay, one more pick. What do you, Frank? What you got?
Yeah, this is a very much hold your nose moment. Mariners at Angels over 6.5. I played this at plus 100, and I'll kind of reiterate why you should play in the morning. I put this number in at 827 this morning, and it's already up to like the minus 120 range, which is right on the edge of probably where I would play it. I made this close to 7, but 4.5% move, is quite a lot. That being said, getting the 7 runs here or in any baseball game is very possible, right? Like as long as these guys who have been very elite aren't both very elite in the same game, 7 runs is not a whole lot. The Mariners bullpen is quite good. The Angels not so much. So hopefully if they get a little bit of a lead, we see some runs from the Mariners lineup against that Angels bullpen. That being said, these lower scoring games, even if you're looking at this just from a strategy standpoint, now with the new extra innings rule, these lower scoring games are a little bit less likely because if we're scoring less runs and this game's end 2-2, right, just in general, less runs means a higher chance of going to extras, which means more runs with these new rules, right? Especially with some of the bullpen pieces that we might see in that situation. So we see these kind of games spiral out of control a little bit at times that are close games with some late scoring, particularly in extras. So I don't want to say that you should play this because I think it's going to extra innings because this is like decent chance just ends up like 1-0 with the way both these guys have been pitching. But 6.5 juice the under. Games in LA. It's going to be nice weather. 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing out in that stadium, and that is one of the Anaheim stadium is one of the ones that sort of can be impacted by wind a little bit. We see some guys get hung up in both the LA stadiums, to be honest, with some of the wind that blows out there. So adding all those things up, I still think this is a very low total, but things are moving in the right direction to see an over here, and the market has agreed with that movement. But again, I'll reiterate that it is important to bet early as soon as you see some of this stuff and get into the FTN Discord and get our stuff in before this stuff starts to take off by the time you see the show tonight.
Yeah, good call. I was thinking about the under. I was thinking about coming on the show with the under 3.5 just in the first 5, but it was like really juiced. But to get plus money of 7 runs in a baseball game, like come on, right? Like that's pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet deal. Even though both these pitchers, like you said, Ohtani and Luis Castillo, especially Castillo in the first couple of starts here with Seattle, they've both been pretty good. But as you said, that Angels bullpen, right? You get Ohtani come out of the 6th, and then all bets are off. Right. You're probably going to get a few runs. I could see this game being like 2-2 into extras and then kind of both teams trading blows and maybe getting there that way. We do have to wrap up. Any final words from you, Dream?
No, that'll be it. But yeah, you I think you're right. We'll probably see the Angels bullpen go Angels bullpen here.
On that note, we're out of here. MLB Dream, Real Frank Brank, myself, Chris Meaney on the Twitter machine. You guys have any questions at all? If you're watching the replay on this show, you can leave them there in the YouTube chat comment section. We'll circle back before first pitch. If you do have any questions, we do appreciate you guys watching on GamePlus as well. Good luck around the diamond. We'll be back on Wednesday. Cheers.